We've just had a TUC seminar on job creation lessons from abroad, and I'm joined by two of the speakers at that seminar, Catelene Passchier from the FNV, the TUC's sister organisation in the Netherlands, and Alexander Herzog-Stein from the Macroeconomic Policy Unit of the Hans Böckler Foundation, which is a research organisation linked to the German trade union movement. One of the questions we were asking ourselves about was, is it possible for full employment to be achieved without governments actually creating jobs? Catelene, do you think that that is a possibility?
Talking from the Dutch perspective, I would say the government should support the private sector, especially in playing a role in creating employment and keeping employment, securing employment. And currently the government is doing the opposite because they are focusing on austerity policies, which are having a very negative impact on the economy as a whole. So first of all, I think the government should play a more positive role in supporting economic development and economic growth. And the second question is, should the government play a direct role in creating jobs? Well, I think the government has a role to play as an employer. Lots of sectors are linked to government activity, the care sector and all those kind of sectors. Currently, they are cutting employment in those sectors. So, first job for a government is to keep employment going. At the moment, there is not a big debate in the Netherlands about governments to start enormous public, let's say, investment projects like we used to have in the past, to say, well, the government should employ people on whatever kind of activity to keep them employed. So there is more focus on activating labour market policies and other forms of support.
Certainly in the UK, we see the government's austerity policy as one of the major problems for job creation. Is it the same situation in the Netherlands and Germany?
I mean, despite the Euro crisis, Germany itself is still doing relatively well. We managed quite well during the Great Recession, 2008 and 2009, and then the years after, we were able to continue to create jobs. However, now with the Euro crisis, where we actually exactly see that how crucial government policy, how crucial governments are for the labor market, because they are actually showing that they are destroying jobs with this policy. At the moment, it seems that Germany no longer will escape from this dreadful experience if this austerity policy goes on. And in that sense, I agree completely with Catelene that governments are crucial, not necessarily only as employer, which is also important, but providing the environment, making sure that the economy is growing dynamically, then also businesses can strive and the economy can create jobs. Unfortunately, that's not what we're seeing in most European countries and in the European Union at all at the moment.
Of course, Germany's the centre of the Eurozone. If there's going to be a European recovery, it's got to involve Germany.
Well, I think that's what I just tried to explain is that the Netherlands political parties, and I would say the majority, not only the parties in government, are very much focused on keeping the AAA status, keeping the Netherlands one of the best pupils in class, to live up to the standards of Brussels with regard to the 3% deficit aims and all that, which is actually in the view of the trade unions, but also of the employers in the Netherlands, increasingly putting the Dutch economy at risk. So this is really what we say in the Netherlands, that our economic problems are policy driven. Let's say the beginning of the crisis was the financial crisis, which had a fallout in the real economy. Now we are seeing the political impact of the policies that are having an impact on the real economy, and employers together with us are increasingly saying, well, we have to stop this. We are in favor of proper budgetary policies, but we have to take a long-term perspective to this. and not this obsession with percentages rather than with real people, real enterprises, and real economic development.
Because the role the German government plays at the moment is a very unfortunate one. They are relatively relaxed with respect to Germany because with high employment at the moment, relatively still good conditions of the German economy, it's very easy to fulfill the austerity criteria. However, Europe would need much more from the largest economy of the Eurozone. We should actually strive for growth. We should invest now, make long-term investments, create dynamism in the German economy and help so our partners in the other European countries to overcome these crises and also to start grow and create jobs again. However, we can't see that at the moment, unfortunately.
Well, maybe just to add that our government is playing a very ambiguous role because they are telling currently the private sector, consumers and enterprises and businesses to spend money to contribute to the economic dynamism. And at the same time, they're putting an enormous focus themselves on austerity. And this is a message that people don't understand. The government doesn't want to spend money. It's all the time reducing spending money and is telling everybody else to spend money. And what is happening in the Netherlands, there's a kind of paralysis that there is money around. We have an enormous buffers in our pension funds. We have people who have savings. But people are feeling very insecure about the near future because of the austerity effects, which is that we have sectors where every day there's closures of firms, like the construction sector. And it's not that people don't need houses or that we don't need renovation or investment in sustainable energies, low houses, but nobody is doing anything. And that is what really the effect of the politics of the moment.
I completely agree with that. It's a very it's claimed at the moment that they are following a long-term strategy, but it's a very short-sighted policy. In Germany, we now observe at the moment that 7 quarters in a row investment is actually declining in the German economy. That's a historical effect we've never seen before. This will have consequences in the future. If investment is declining, this will hurt the German economy. So therefore, all this austerity policy is self-defeating.
And maybe also to say that the Netherlands, they have been very strict in the last few years. They have said to everybody else, you have to be cutting on all your spending to keep your budgets right. But the problem is that actually the Netherlands, and I think Germany even more, need to spend more money so that the other European countries can kind of export to the Netherlands and to Germany, because the Netherlands basically is an economy which is open to the whole world, but the majority of our trade and exports are within Europe. Yeah. So if we would be a bit more generously using our economic strengths or potential economic strengths, it would even be beneficial for the rest of Europe. So that's what the Commission is telling the Netherlands. But they're kind of they're kept hostage by the policies of the 3% and the austerity and the budgets, because it would be in everybody's interest if the Netherlands and Germany would do more about investment and spending and all that. And of course within limits. We don't say that you shouldn't be careful about government budgets. But
this is the point that we are talking all the time in this European context in black and white categories, that of course we will talk about consolidation at one point. This will be necessary, that governments will consolidate. The question is, however, to do it rightly, not to destroy the economy. And at the moment, what the European economy and also the membership countries need, the economies, is growth. And therefore the countries which are in good positions, like especially the largest economy, Germany, but also countries like Netherlands, UK as well, from outside the Eurozone area, but inside the European Union, they should make a push use the low interest rates to invest in our long-term future when we think about education, when we think about the green economy.
But maybe going back to the seminar, what is still interesting, okay, these are the outside parameters that we need to get right, and at the moment they're not very helpful. But still, it is interesting to see that there is differences between countries with different effects for workers. So there is countries that seem to be able to have more social partner agreements on with a bit more collectively agreed approaches, more solidarity, less, let's say, where there's less acute differences between insiders and outsiders. And there's countries where there's more acute. So I still think it's useful as trade unions not only to tell our governments that it should change their policies, but also to exchange these the things that we've been discussing. Because for me, it's very interesting to know exactly what's going on in Germany and to have discussions with German colleagues on how we could strengthen our trade union approaches. But I think we can all learn from that and see how we try to avoid that the people on the lowest side of the economy, the low skilled, the low paid, are paying the big prices. And at the moment I see in different ways that this is an issue in the Netherlands, it's an issue in Germany, it's probably an issue in the UK as well. And that's what we have to look at, because within all these complicated contexts, we still can try to avoid that the prices are paid by the vulnerable groups and the low paid and all that.
Well, certainly for UK unions, one of our worries is that the new jobs we're seeing being created have lower pay and conditions than the ones that are being lost.
Yeah, well, at least in the Netherlands, we certainly see that there is a lot of stable, permanent jobs lost. And sometimes in the same sectors, even the same workers can come back on more precarious conditions. I still find it interesting, the difference that it seems to be there between Germany and the Netherlands, where Germany has invested more heavily in internal flexibility forms. We do have them too. We know annualized hours, we know some of the things that, we don't know the working time accounts that Germany has, but we have a lot of other forms of internal flexibility. But still, the Netherlands has focused much more over the last, I would say, even 20 years in external flexibility. And sometimes I say in the Netherlands that we are addicted to external flexibility. And we should really do something about that, because that is not the way forward. Right? And Germany has a lot of interesting experiences about internal flexibility, but they have other forms of, I would say, things that we shouldn't copy in other countries, which is the mini jobs and the fact that there is no legal minimum wage, which is in some sectors, I think, showing terrible consequences.
Thanks very much indeed for watching this video. The paper that we launched at today's seminar, Lessons from Abroad, written by Amna Sillin, is also available at the Touchstone blog website.